Honored to introduce my senator, who's been a national leader, as you know, Attorney General, on this issue, and talked to me last session of Congress about introducing a bill, which I did, that you've been a leader on, the STOP Act, deals with this issue of fentanyl coming in from China. Mr. Portman, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Teaberry, and thanks for your leadership all along, and more recently taking the lead on the STOP Act. I think you have 123 co-sponsors, I'm told, and thanks to CRS for helping us with that legislation, and to Mike DeWine for his help, both as the top law enforcement official in the state of Ohio, who cares a lot about the supply side and keeping this poison out of our communities, but also someone who gets it, which is this is ultimately going to be solved through a comprehensive approach, focusing on the local community. And I was in this room 20 years ago as a House member trying to get legislation through called the Drug-Free Communities Act, which is now law that has helped spawn over 2,000 community coalitions. Our whole focus was local, including one that I founded and chaired in Cincinnati, and yet here we are. The worst drug crisis in our history, by any measure, as bad as it's been in the past. And I think what we've learned today from this terrific panel of experts and also from some of our colleagues, including Congressman Schweikert, is that, Mr. Chairman, the comprehensive approach that you've been advocating is the only way, and it has to be at every angle, and it has to include much more aggressive prevention and education efforts. And Senator Klobuchar and I are co-sponsors and authors of this STOP Act. Senator Hassan is one of our original 4 co-sponsors, by the way, is here too. But she also was one of the original Klobuchar, me, White House, and others pushed this comprehensive approach in the Comprehensive Addiction and Recovery Act, called comprehensive, but it includes a big component of education and prevention is yet to be implemented, including a national awareness campaign on making this connection that Attorney General DeWine has made well today between prescription drugs and heroin, fentanyl, and other opioids. And I think Professor Deaton's right. A lot of people don't make that connection because they're not aware of the information. So when you go to a doctor and someone who you trust prescribes opioid pain medication and says, here's 60 Percocets, take this for this oral surgery you've had, you trust that doctor and you do that. And for some people, there is obviously a change in their brain, which is a disease, which is called addiction. And that is something that we can do as part of this. And there are other aspects of the CARA legislation that need to be implemented. And I've urged the Obama administration, as I'm now urging the Trump administration, to move quickly on implementing these things in the face of this crisis. A couple of quick questions. One, to Senator DeWine, and again, as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer in our state, you know much better than I what's going on. But I just got an email yesterday from the coroner in Cuyahoga County, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Gilson, who was here testifying, by the week before last over in the Senate, and he reported to me that 43 people have died in Cleveland in the couple of weeks since Memorial Day. He believes it's fentanyl-driven. By the way, this is in contrast even to the horrible rate of overdoses and deaths last year of being more in the 20 to 30 range. We're now, even this year, in April it was under 40, now in 2 weeks over 40. So can you talk a little about what's happened in Ohio and maybe specifically what I'm hearing back home, which is this notion, to Professor Deaton's point about who's being affected, that this is now being spread into the African-American community more with regard to these evil traffickers sprinkling fentanyl in cocaine and starting a whole other series of addictions. If you could just speak to that a little bit, I'd appreciate it.
Well, Senator, thank you very much for the question. Thank you for the great work that you've done. You've been a real leader in this field. I think there is a natural progression, which starts generally with the pain med. 35-year-old, 40-year-old, blue-collar male, hurts his back, is prescribed pain meds, becomes addicted to it, and everything goes downhill from then. He moves over to the heroin because it's cheaper, it's maybe more available. And then the other thing that you have, as you point out, going on is fentanyl now. And the fentanyl, we're finding fentanyl a lot more now, more and more, and less heroin. It used to be it was sprinkled in with it. One of the things that we're seeing in our crime lab is that these cases are much more complex and take longer to do because instead of it being all heroin or all fentanyl, it's all mixed up, and so it slows that down. But I go back to something I said a moment ago. I think it is a marketing technique, and these people who are selling this stuff and who are killing people, they're good marketers, and it's all about service, and it's all about getting the best high, and part of the marketing is, hey, we got something new, and that something new may in fact be fentanyl. As far as it moving more into the African American community, I don't have any data on that, but sure, it would appear that anecdotally would appear that it's getting pushed out. And you know, as I look at this problem from maybe a big picture point of view, sometimes people will ask me, you know, Mike, what keeps you awake at night as the Attorney General? My quick answer is the opiate problem. I think it's a bigger problem that's been alluded to by several people here today. The opiate problem is a subset of a bigger problem. The bigger problem is that we have a large number of people in Ohio and other states who are not living up, for many reasons, to their God-given potential. And we've got a problem with people not having the right skills. And that does impact this some. Not in every case. I mean, we're seeing a lot of middle-class people who everything would appear to be going fine in their life, but there's something going on there that it causes that person to become addicted. But a related problem is the fact that we've got Ohioans and people, I'm sure, in other states who aren't living up to their God-given potential because they're addicted, or usually, many times, they don't have the education. They do, as a professor said, they do not have the education. They do not have the set of tools to make it. And part of it is we do have to, I think, start saying to people, and we have to start, parents need to be saying, look, to their kids, we want you to live up to your full potential. Maybe you're working with your hands and you don't go to college, but maybe you go to, it's been said, an apprentice program or something else where you can become a welder or you can become a machinist and make a very good salary. So I think all of these things are tied into each other. And part of our challenge in Ohio and in other states, I think, is to focus on kids who are growing up, because it's easier to impact them than it is to, it's not that we're not going to try to impact someone older, but the kids are growing up, and make sure that they have all the opportunities that are there no matter where they're born and no matter what their income or who their dad is or who their mom is. And I think, to me, that's part of our solution as we look at the pain med problem.
Thank you. My time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your indulgence. I'm going to ask some questions for you, Professor Deaton, for the record, about the economic impact of what you described. And I think the notion of opioids being an accelerant to what you and Senator Weiner just talked about is actually an apt description. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.